Welcome in, everybody. This is the Final Form podcast, and I am your host, Dave, joined by my fellow weeb, Kyle. Today is a wondrous day, ladies and gentlemen, because we get to discuss one of our favorite animes of all time here with season 3 of Jujutsu Kaisen, The Culling Game. Man, words really cannot express how excited I am to be here today with Kyle. We'll hopefully have our other third member, Alki, joining us on the future podcast episodes because he is a manga reader as well as Kyle. But whew, man, I think about season 2 of JJK honestly way more than I should. I've watched reactions of season 2 upwards of 100 times. I'd have to say genuinely, I am that obsessed. I thought season 2 was one of the best anime arcs I've ever seen in my entire life. Not many come close to it. Like I think of season 3 of like Attack on Titan, maybe the Entertainment District of Demon Slayer, but season 2 of JJK fucked me up, and I am kind of disappointed with myself in our recordings of season 2 because I wish I brought more energy. I don't think I really maybe understood what was going on at the time, and like with the podcast, obviously you and Alki helped a lot, but
Yeah.
it's a complicated anime, man, and
Oh my God.
these 2 episodes also kind of show the complexity of this anime. And so to give everyone a little backstory, if you weren't here for season 2 coverage, like I said at the start, Kyle here is one of our manga readers, so he's very familiar with the manga and the events that unfold in this season and future seasons. Alki, who again will be joining us in the future, is also a manga reader. Me personally, I have no experience besides watching the show, so this is just fresh eyes for myself here. I'll try to be the theory crafter and everything. Kyle will just nod his head and agree to everything that I say just because he obviously will know what's coming up. But I've heard a lot of crazy things coming from the fans about this season. In a lot of the reactions that I've watched of season 2, the comments are like, oh, if this is how you're reacting now, like you're not ready for the Culling Game. And it's like, fuck, maybe I'm not either, but we're here and we've got a few more weeks, plenty of weeks to come of JJK, and I'm certainly excited. I'm going to hand it over to Kyle to give his experience and quick thoughts on these episodes that kicked us off.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of mentioned a little bit before we even hit record of the energy levels for JJK are just so high. We're so fucking back. It's crazy. It feels so good. Like pressing play on episode 1 felt like a dream.
Oh, yeah.
And just watching it is a great experience. And this will be the first and final shot that I'll throw at One Punch Man. But like the feeling that I have sitting down to talk about this show compared to that show is just, it couldn't be more different. And I'm so
100%.
excited for whatever it ends up being, 13, 12 weeks of this. And yeah, I've read the manga. I actually have not finished it. Oddly enough,
Okay.
I was so close, and then something happened, and then life, and then you get knocked off the horse, and then 1 week leads to 2 weeks, 1 month leads to 2 months, and then you just kind of lose steam on it. So, but I have reread the entire, like what will happen in this season in the manga. I just did it. I'll probably continue after that and just finish at this point. But yeah, I mean, to say I'm excited for this is probably an understatement. I feel like this is going to be so much fun. We're part 1 here. So I think we're going to get, I don't know if it's been confirmed. I tried to look on the internet somewhere to get information on this, but it seems like the general vibe is we'll get 13 episodes here in a part 1. And then a part 2 will come, whether it's 2027, hopefully it's 2027, of maybe another 13 episodes to give us kind of that like 24 to 26 episode, like season 3 of the full kind of Culling Game. And damn, we are just in for so much fun. Even these first, whatever it ends up being, again, 12, 13 episodes, it's going to be a blast. So I just couldn't be more excited to get into this. I mean, without further ado, I guess we probably can just get started here. Can we not?
Yeah, I'm totally in. The last thing I will say though is I love obviously the JJK season, but I also hate it at the same time because my timeline on Twitter ends up just becoming flooded with just manga panels and just people saying, "Oh, cannot wait for this, this, and this," and it's like, I gotta really dodge Twitter at this point. And what was that?
You got to make use of you can mute individial words and terms.
I know, but then I like forget to unmute it, but then because I want to go back and get that content in. So we'll stay away for a time being. No spoilers so far. I've been good. Maybe like one thing has been spoiled for me, but even that one thing, I don't even think I understand what it spoiled for me. So we'll see. But I'll have Kyle, since he is the expert here, lead us through. I was just the introduction here, but we'll give it to Kyle.
That works. Okay, and so as everyone who watched the episodes kind of knows, they gave us a little bit of like a timeline cut and switch. We open episode 1 and we're kind of in the middle of Yuji and Yuta fighting, which was kind of crazy. It was a little jarring. I like it from a creative standpoint, but we're just not really going to talk about it in that sense. We're just going to have these conversations over these 2 episodes. We're going to bucket them into scenes and things like that just kind of make the most sense to talk about together, kind of having like one, individual bucket story in a way. So the first one here we just have is the whole information about the Zenin succession. So episode 1 as an episode gives us pretty much almost this immediate aftermath and consequence to the ending of season 2. We get the whole Shibuya incident. Everything is crazy now, Maki and the head of the Zenin clan, Naobito, were kind of burned up, and then we have all these people are becoming, sorcerers, and all these curse spirits are released in Tokyo and things like that. So I love that they just gave us this initial, like, okay, where are we at right here? So the first thing is the Zenin succession. Naobito Zenin, we learn, dies, and there were kind of 3 options were presented, and then they pull the ultimate curveball, and that we kind of get this information about Toji, Dave's boys Toji, and now Bito had this kind of agreement, which the conditions are kind of there for it to be fulfilled. So surprising drama right to start.
This is the kind of complexity that I'm talking about with this show. I mean, the whole Zenin clan, we've seen outside perspectives of how it operates. We've never really gotten the insight of how they work and what the family tree and the hierarchy of it all looks like. So this was an amazing start to getting us into that, because obviously Toji being probably my favorite character of the show, that the mark that he's left on me and his whole backstory of his separation from the Zenin clan and everything is just so interesting to me. And it's one of those key drivers of this season, I'm assuming, moving forward, especially with Megumi's role. This was awesome, man. I mean, meeting the 3 new Zenin players that are the 3 brothers in Ogi, Jinichi, and Noya. I can't pronounce his name for the life of me. It's so weird, but Noya. I'll just say Noya because it's easier for me.
Yeah.
But they were all badass. I mean, we get, 5 seconds of them just kind of maybe flexing their powers a little bit here, and obviously super badass. We get the feeling that Noya, who is going to be the head now with the succession, depending on if he kills Megumi or not, Noya has a pretty deep hatred, maybe not deep hatred, but at least hatred for his older brothers. And we can see that tension a little bit here. But I was so upset to see Naobito pass away. I mean, obviously he got fucked up towards the end of season 2. He took 2 volcanoes basically to the face. So that was devastating. We obviously knew Nanami had also died from his blow, or at least, took some damage and then ended up dying later on, but he was not in good shape either. Obviously it makes sense that he had to die, and now this launches us into a new plot point. But man, this was a great introduction for these 3 guys. I certainly am excited to see. I think Jinichi was like the more built one, and Ogi had the sword. So Jinichi's structure wise, like face wise, looked pretty badass. And I like the call out of like, yo, you're just upset that you didn't get Toji Kun's like good looks or whatever.
Yeah.
We all know Toji's a hottie, but yeah, man, with Gojo absent, they are free to take. Well, okay, so what I understood was that Noya obviously will get all the inheritance of everything. If he ever wants to access some of the weapons or relics that they have at the high school or within their own vault, he can use his own, but he has to go to his brothers for confirmation to use theirs, like whatever I guess they have in their portion of the vault. He just needs to ask them if he can ever use them. And then the other thing being that with Gojo being gone, like you said, that whole pact is broken. So now they are free to take back Megumi, who will then be the head of the Zenin clan if they capture him, I guess, or whatever. That's how I took it.
So basically it was that Noya, I'm fine with rolling with Noya for me, was supposed to be the immediate successor to Naobito. It was like,
Right.
okay, like I'm dead. I'm choosing Noya as my successor, and he can get, the access to the cursed weapons and things like that, but he needs the approval of these other 2 guys, of Jinichi and Ogi, to kind of actually do it, like make use of it. So it's a little bit of a check on his individual power. as the head of the clan. But he's kind of like, whatever, doesn't really matter. Like, I want to be the head of the clan. But the kicker is that since Gojo is sealed away and incapacitated, the agreement between Toji and Naobito supersedes that. And now instead of Noya being the head of the clan, Megumi is the head of the clan now.
Okay.
So Noya's position at this point has not changed. He walked in cocky as hell, thinking like, I'm going to be the head of the clan, and he walked out not the head of the clan. And now he wants
Great
to
clarification
kill.
there.
Yeah, he wants to kill Megumi so that he can then just be the head of the clan.
Like, great clarification there, because again, I wasn't sure if he was already the head or if it's on hold, but like you said, Megumi, without even knowing, is just walking around as the head of the Zenin clan right now.
Correct. And these two other guys, so Ogi is the guy with the ponytail, the glasses, and the sword. So that is Noya's uncle, because that is Maki and Mai's dad.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's Naobito's younger brother, I believe. And then Junichi, I'm honestly not sure what his relation is, but they're not brothers. I don't know who he is. I don't know if he's like, again, one of Naobito's brothers or he's a nephew. I'm not entirely sure what his familial relationship is to everyone, besides the fact that he's obviously a part of the clan.
But those three aren't like actually brothers then? Or they are?
No. So Noya, it is confusing because Noya is talking about his older brothers, both in this scene, and he talks about it with Choso a lot. Yeah. But they're not like, they didn't show them at all.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So that also great clarification there for me. I was just under the impression that they were the older brothers. That makes so much sense. They were just potential candidates to take over the head.
Yeah, these were kind of the three that it was going to be.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm all cleaned up there.
Yeah, and I guess part of the reason why we don't see Noya's older brothers at any point, and he talks about it a lot, is because they're just not at the level. Like, they wouldn't even be considered for this position and anything like that. So they're just kind of small fries compared to these guys that are in the room.
And now that you mention it, he did say later on that his older brothers use weapons. While one of them coincidentally did use a weapon, the other one seemed to use his fists. And like when he got angry at the beginning, Junichi.
Yeah, Junichi, yeah.
So he didn't really have a weapon. So that checks out. All right, see, this is why we need the podcast for this.
Yeah, but also do the animation here. I mean, separate from the story itself, I'm so curious what the conversation was like of talking about the swinging light. I'm sure that was, I don't want to say a burden, but like difficult to animate because it's just the shadows are all moving and it's like an extended scene of the light just kind of swinging around and casting all these different shadows over everybody. I wanted to point that out because I thought it was pretty.
While we're talking about the animation, we might as well just emphasize how amazing it has been this season. It genuinely feels like they recorded people like running in these shots and then just kind of like traced lines over all of the motions of them running. It was so clean. And again, this will be my last comparison to One Punch Man, but coming off of One Punch Man into this kind of animation, it's just like we're in a different ballpark at this point in time. It's not even close. So again, I'm sorry that One Punch Man has fallen from grace so much, but this just is one of those animes that makes you look around at every other anime, and it's just like not many are doing what JJK is doing right now.
No, I mean, it looks fantastic. It's a feast for the eyes. All right. Speaking of a feast for the eyes, so we can kind of move now into, so that kind of sets a little bit of the background of, a future confrontation that we'll probably pretty much get into almost at this moment. But the next kind of bucket I have here is kind of Yuji and Chozo's, what ends up being a kind of short-lived Ronin arc. So in their aftermath to the Shibuya incident, Yuji's kind of isolating himself because he is pretty much severely depressed. And he just hates himself because of everything that happened while Sukuna took over his body, but he's blaming himself for that. So him and Chozo are kind of just like wandering around Tokyo at this point, like training and exercising curses together. And then that's where we get Noya runs into them. He finds them because he's trying to use Yuji as bait to find Megumi. And then also we find here now Yuta is arriving. And we kind of get a little bit of the background of why Yuta's there. So Yuta has been chosen essentially as Yuji's executioner because in the aftermath of the Shibuya incident, the higher-ups in Jujutsu Society kind of put down some condemnations, some kind of rulings on things. And one of them is that Yuji has to die. And Yuta has been kind of chosen as his executioner.
I have a lot of notes about these few scenes here. I guess my first one's starting with Yuji becoming Saitama and One Punch Man. He is so strong now. Just the punches that he's throwing we clearly can see are not even full strength and still just blowing up curses left and right. So love how far Yuji has come for sure. It sucks that it's all on the back of so many sacrifices to his good friends. But man, he is a total badass right now. Cool, calm, collected is Yuji right now. That was my first comment. Second comment being before Noya arrives, Chozo makes a comment about Yuji's father having stitches in his forehead or something like that. Or
Yeah. Mhm.
basically was a one line thing that if you missed it, it wouldn't even mattered really that much. But if you caught it, it's like, what do you mean by that? So, and I think at the end of season 2, we kind of got some clarification that Yuji is like related to Chozo somehow. Like they're, I don't know how confirmed it was, but it feels like that they're both descendants of the guy,
So
right? Like,
yeah, so in season 2, it definitely was presented more as kind of almost like a gag. It's introduced in a serious moment because it's when Chozo beats Yuji's ass in the bathroom,
right.
which amazing scene. And then instead of kind of like killing him, he has this kind of realization, and it seems like he has these implanted memories because we've had that kind of experience with Toto in season 1, where when
Mhm.
Toto and Yuji meet, Toto just
Yeah.
has these memories of them being
High
best
school
friendos.
friends. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And then that just like completely changes the dynamic of the TV show. And it happens kind of similarly a little bit with Chozo. And Chozo at this point is kind of just he's convinced, he knows that in his mind that they're brothers. And Yuji is just always like he kind of humors him at this point because he's relentless with it. And he's just trying to get him to like remember what he thinks is true. He's like, you had to have had like your dad had to have had stitches on his head like my dad, you know.
Mhm. Okay.
Which we've
Okay.
also seen we saw that with Ghetto in
Yes.
season 2. Yeah, we know that
Yes.
it's we learn at the end of it as well that it's Noritoshi Kamo is like a sorcerer from the past that has kind of been jumping identities
Mhm.
like that and has
And
who created to Choso and all of his brothers with the death painting wounds.
right, so it's not even that they're Chozo's a direct descendant. Like he is legitimately a quote unquote son of Nori. What is his name? Noritoshi.
Yeah,
Nori.
Noritoshi Kamo. Yes,
Yeah.
Choso is, and he's like basically telling Yuji like you are too, bro. Like you have to
And the
remember. And
one thing
Yuji's
that I
just
had
like,
to,
I don't know what you're talking about, brother.
and the one thing I was looking up, kind of without trying to get too many spoilers. Thankfully, I did a good job of that. But the death paintings. So my understanding, because they get mentioned a few times here. So from what I'm understanding, is that the death paintings are just Chozo and his brothers, essentially. Like there's death
Yeah, yeah.
paintings 1 to 9, 1 to 3 are the strongest. That was Chozo and the two main brothers that we saw
Mhm.
in season 2 or whatever it was.
Yep.
Yeah, it was confusing. Death painting. It's just like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, some of the
Like it's
stuff,
such
like
a random term.
the lore and things is quite tough, but essentially they're just kind of combinations almost of humans and curses. It's like it was
Right.
kind of I guess like some experimental jujutsu in trying to create like a hybrid. It kind of worked. I mean, Jozo at this point is like a pretty fully
Oh,
realized human being. I mean, he has obviously all the cursed spirit kind of things with him, as we get into the kind of his fight with Noya at the end of that, they talk about it a little bit. But he was much more like fully formed as a human than like the brothers were. And then, like you're saying, there's
okay.
also 6 weaker, even weaker versions that kind of play a role in episode 2 as well. So I would just say, I mean, I feel like and as much as you need to know. You also might know as much as I know currently in my head that I can remember. So and if there is more to learn, I'm feeling quite confident that it will show us.
Yeah, I think I have a good grasp of everything right now. Like understanding that Chozo is Kamo's essentially child and son,
Yeah, in
and
a
then
way.
there was 9 of them. It's just so awesome that a character like Chozo who gets introduced, with Jogo and all these other
Mhm.
cursed spirits, like obviously he looks more human than the other ones. You don't really know what his role is in all this when he gets first introduced, and he's like this ridiculous character when he's fighting Yuji, obviously, but he is like arguably one of the most important characters, like
He's a
at
beast
this point
too.
in time, with just how he can connect Yuji to Kamo and like provide us that just middle ground of information that we're going to be lacking in the future. It's just crazy to me that Chozo, this guy is just this important, and I love it though. Chozo's amazing.
Yeah, Kikag. And his curse technique is sweet. And we have the actual the Noritoshi Kamo that is from the Tokyo school the young kid who
Mhm.
has like the two braids, and he has the blood manipulation, but Choso's, levels above him with it. So it's just, I love that curse technique. Okay. A couple things I have here is just that, again, I guess getting back to the animation discussion, the scene of when we kind of first see Yuji and Choso again, they're in this like, I don't know, I don't know if it's a church, but it has this huge stained glass window behind them and it's all like red lighting and
Mhm.
just looks so cool. I just love it, and it's also like reflecting Yuji's mood. He's just super depressed and all of
Mhm.
these things, and that's just kind of where we meet him at this season, which makes a ton of sense based off of what happened in season 2. And then I don't know how much you want to talk. I know you mentioned too like Yuji's power, but I just this stuff looks so good. The fighting, all the cursed spirits. They definitely had some fun too. Like this is a lot of the anime kind of elaborating on this stuff. Like we don't really see a ton of Yuji and Choso like running around doing the curse stuff. So they had a lot of
Yeah.
fun with like
Mhm.
animating all of this stuff, and it definitely shows. And it was fun to see at least.
It was so clean. I mean, the animation looks
Yes.
unbelievable,
Oh
and
my god.
to get into it a little bit more with the Noya introduction when he arrives to Chozo and Yuji. I mean, he comes in with those fucking hands and just wiping the
Beating ass.
floor with Chozo right off the bat. I mean, I always love fast characters, so this guy is already just like resonating with me so much. We'll get more into it, I guess, maybe in the next episode, but his power is very similar to Naobito's to me, at
Mhm.
least.
Yeah.
Really don't understand Naobito's or this guy's at the end of the day that much. I just know that they're kind of like moving in frames. But overall, though, this was just amazing. Noya, we get to see his flexing of his powers because he's taking on both Chozo and Yuji, who we know are more than capable fighters
Yeah.
individually, and to take them on at the same time and to be smiling half the time and like playing, messing with his hair as he's fucking up Chozo's face. Like, this guy's got it for sure.
Yeah, he's cocky for a reason.
Yeah. And then Yuta showing up was, I mean, aura everywhere, legitimately, because there was actual aura,
Yeah.
and it was so cool because that the color changes and everyone reacts immediately, like with panic.
Yeah.
In my mind, I was, I know it's not Sukuna, but it reminded me of when Sukuna arrives when he's fighting Jogo, and like it's the panda and the other guy, and he just shows
Mm.
up, and everyone's just immediately like panicked, like shit, that's a lot of cursed energy. And so
I
you
think
like you're
it's
waiting, and
Gojo. I
yeah,
mean,
and like
Yuji even
yeah,
says like Gojo Sensei question mark.
dude,
So
that part gave me chills when he's like Gojo, but it's not Gojo, and it's just Yuta there. I mean, what an entrance for Yuta. My only other thing was the big curse Rika that was like chasing him at the beginning a little bit. Okay, that was. I mean, they did that really well.
no. So
No,
that
okay,
the big curse that's in the start of episode 1 that's involved in this chase is not that's not Rika. That's just like a
okay.
random
That's
curse
what I
that's
thought. I
not
wasn't
involved.
sure at first because it also, I think Yuji cut its arm off at some point. I was like, "There's no way that was Rika." If, like, we
Yeah, no.
do obviously get Rika here, which was even. It's
Yeah,
just
the
crazy. I mean,
Yeah,
Yuta is just so strong.
The Yuta fight was awesome. I mean, like you said, Yuta's entrance when he falls down and just like purposely like destroys the
Steroids.
highway. It's just like, okay, boss, like you didn't have to do that, but he did that
Yeah,
on purpose, which is badass. But then Yuji and Yuta getting into it was just it's just so cool to watch Yuta fight. He's just speed, power, he's got all the cursed energy and them just getting after it. And then again, like through the city was like such a cool addition because it's not that detailed like that in the manga. So like they had a lot of fun with that. The way that they're just like also expelling cursed spirits along the
mhm,
way, and it just like looks crazy. But yeah, them fighting in the theater, it's just like that close quarters. Yuta's got the
yes,
katana, and
mhm,
Yuji's still working, and he even compliments him. He compares him to Maki too. Yuta compares Yuji to Maki
yes.
in this fight. We also get the information here that he might have even more cursed energy than Gojo, which is crazy to think about. But Gojo, the six eyes, is the ultimate glitch, which they just keep reinforcing with
Doesn't
us.
use
Like,
any cursed
yeah,
energies.
it's just like such a glitch,
Yeah,
But like, I loved the callback to Toto and his teachings to Yuji of saying, you know what I mean? Like, you can usually tell for bad sorcerers, like what kind of attacks coming next is they concentrate the curse energy, and then they show us what he's seeing with Yuta, and it's just like he's in on fire with cursed
yeah.
energy. Like it's literally just
You can't read his
everywhere.
moves because everything is just oozing cursed energy no matter
Yeah,
what.
just
Like,
like completely crazy. I love when they show us Yuji's like almost like parkour more movement when he's like when he jumps through the Jeep and like grabs the knife that was
Yes.
there, and then he gets into it, and they had the funny memory with Gojo not teaching him to use the weapons and things like that, and he still is able to kind of break the katana. And but yeah, like you mentioned, Rika, the ultimate trump card. And what were you thinking when, because he runs the blade through him for sure.
Oh, I mean, so obviously my head is thinking, okay, Yuji's the main character. He has Sukuna still inside him. Like, there's just, I don't think he's dead here. The twist for me was that Yuta ends up being on our side. That was what
Yeah.
got me. So we'll get into that with the start of next episode. But overall, man, Rika showing up and Yuji not even like being able to detect its presence, and then all of a sudden it's just captured him and he can't break free. Like, again, we know Yuji's got some physical prowess to him, and he's unable to break free of Rika-chan, and Yuta gets the free kill there. Again, I didn't think he was dead, but I didn't know what was going to transpire next. I'm just like, how are we getting out of this? But man, what a first episode,
Yeah.
man. I think I will have, like, I guess one little complaint, and it's really not that big of a deal, but like when they compare Yuta to Gojo, I think it's a shame because I think they've overemphasized, maybe not overemphasized Gojo's abilities, but just like the displays of power we've seen from Gojo have been like such another level. And then to see Yuji kind of like being able to keep up or be on par with this character who's supposed to be Gojo level, like it just feels like to me, if Gojo were to show up, if Gojo was in Yuta's position and were to show up and know that he had to kill Yuji,
That would be
like,
over way quicker.
yeah. And again, it's also, but then I'm also realizing, Yuta was putting on an act. Like if he were to go
Yeah.
all out, I'm sure Yuji also would have probably been pieced up pretty easily as well. So it's
Yeah, I
just
think
like
it's a
Gojo is just
combination.
like too good of a, like the ultimate being.
Yeah, I think it's a combination too of the thing you're saying with the act, and also, I mean, the kind of main comparison that gets made is pretty much, unless I'm misremembering, is almost solely on the volume of cursed energy. I mean, Yuta, I think,
Okay.
would freely admit like Gojo's way stronger than
Okay.
he is,
That's what
both from the technique, the experience, and things like that. So
That's what I'm
I
taking it as.
yeah,
That's what I kind of like realizing going back and watching it. And like, they weren't saying necessarily he's like on Gojo's level of power. It's just he does have the same amount of like cursed energy. It's like a Naruto when Kisame has the same amount of chakra as a tailed beast. It's just
yeah.
like
It's
one of those
honestly
things.
pretty similar to that. And I mean, they have like the whole special grade stuff, but Gojo kind of just transcends that kind of
Like, as
level of
of right
things. But
now,
you, I
my
mean,
head
Yuta
is.
is gotta be. I'm just gonna throw this out there, but if he's not two, he's
That's what I was literally
three,
just about to say
four.
in my head in terms of power leveling. Like, it's Gojo in his own tier. I think everyone would admit that. Like, even in season 2,
Yeah,
when they're Gojo's not even around, and they're like, "Oh, this guy's fast, but not as fast as Gojo," or like,
yeah, you know what
"This
I
guy's
mean.
strong, but not as strong
Well,
as
also
Gojo." So
like
it's Gojo and then Yuta for me is
yeah,
where I am seeing it.
the fact that the entire plan of the villains is completely predicated on the fact that you have to seal Gojo. Like that's step 0 that has to happen.
Yeah.
And they're not even thinking about Yuta at all is probably enough evidence on its own right there as well.
So that was
All
like
right.
a small complaint, but that was immediately brushed away by our comments. So I
Yeah.
feel very good.
No, that's honestly completely reasonable. And I'm sure something else that'll brush it aside is this Noya Choso fight. So we actually get into it at the start of episode 2, which I'm thankful for because, again, the animation here is sweet. And also these two curse techniques are really fun up against
Mhm.
each other. Especially I liked how they showed how much Noya knows about the blood manipulation because of kind of the 3 clans. So we have the Zenin clan, we have the Kamo clan, we have the Gojo clan, and they're all kind of rivals. So it makes sense that Noya would be pretty well trained to fight against the kind of leading curse technique of the Kamo clan. And he wasn't ready for what Shoso's bringing out here, though, because Shoso's got I think they said like 150 years of mastering like the curse technique and trying out some new shit. So this was just awesome. They have some good like brother conversation. We get some good like Choso kind of staking his principles in the ground against Noya. We've got this wave of blood that kind of floods the underpass and things like that, and it is just Choso ends up winning, baby. Which I would say you were probably surprised by that.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, he was backed into a corner for so long, but Chozo just out here hiding his like secret technique. I mean, again, this guy is awesome. I was not prepared to be as in love with this character as I currently am. And he was he's showing not only like his physical prowess, but also just his ability to read situations, understand. And he didn't fully understand Noya's power, but he was still able to understand it to a point enough where he was able to make a counter. And I just think Chozo is just a great fighter, man. The ocean of blood that he summons up into the final move, and the whenever there's a narrator, I always love it personally. I know some people have issues with narrators, but
Very
I
Hunter x
personally
Hunter.
love it. Yeah, exactly. It reminds me of Hunter x Hunter, and it adds a level of just like intensity or like coolness to things that you sometimes just can't get without saying these words. And the fact that, like you're saying, they call out that he's been learning this shit for 150 years, it's not going to stay the same. Like, of course, he's going to have to adapt it. And we see it here. I just don't know what the outcome of Noya is going to be now. I mean, I'm assuming he's obviously still alive, but we didn't see him get healed or anything. He was certainly caught off guard by Chozo's ability. I think he's going to be looking for a rematch in the future. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy to take an L and not just
No.
calmly walk away from it. So I imagine him and Chozo will have their round two. The power of Noya is still confusing a little bit. Like
Yeah, it
it's
is.
kind of like he's moving an imaginary body in the future a little bit, and he can kind of move his physical body to where that image ends up almost. Like, again, it's very similar to now Beatos, which I didn't fully understand, but it's cool. At the end of the day, I think it's really badass. I love
Yeah.
speed, and that is what his power is almost built for. So I'm obsessed with it. Yeah, and Chozo hardening the blood, I love that as well. That was also a callback to, I think, him and Yuji's fight in season
Mhm.
2. I think they did the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
The
just always full of
animation
surprises.
the animation on Noya, like, running away from, like, the
Mm,
ocean of
the
blood was
blades,
cra
yeah.
I was trying to think of anything I've seen that was, like, similar, like, uses anything similar techniques to that, and I was just, like, shocked. Why I went back and watched it again because I was like, "This just looks crazy to me." Like, it looks
It's
so
one of
cool.
those moments when you're just watching and you're just like ear to ear smiling. It's just like, this is
Yeah.
so cool. It's
No,
like, it's so cool.
100%, 100%. Alright, so this kind of, Chozo is, ruled the winner here. I think it's pretty safe to assume that Yuta ends up healing him because it kinda seems like they make the pact almost, like, "I'll heal
Yeah.
you, you just tell the higher ups that Yuji's dead," basically.
Yes.
And we get the reason for that immediately afterwards, which in this we'll transition to this kind of second to last bucket, which is the fattest bucket that I have in my notes because this is where we kind of get a real lay of the land of like what's actually happening
Yeah.
and going on. So
Mhm.
we learn here, yes, that Yuta is kind of dropping the Executioner's Act. He explains everything that's going on with why he was acting the way he was. Then we get Megumi arriving, and we're learning about this is the first time they dropped the Culling Game as a name. We're
Mhm.
getting the rules, we're getting this information about what's happening. And basically, Megumi's like, hey, my sister, who was previously in that coma, is kind of being roped into this. So I need your help, Yuji. And like, here's the plan. So a lot happens here. We get a lot of information. Whatever you want to bite into first, we'll start there. And then we can kind of just get to everything we want to.
I'll start with again saying that Yuta being on our side was a shock for me. I mean, obviously, from the end of season 2 into the episode 1 of season 3, we've only seen anger from Yuta. So, I mean, clearly I got. I when he comes up and he wakes up and Yuta's there and he's like, "Oh, don't worry, like we're all good." I was like, "Thank God, man." I loved Yuta. I did not want to see him going against Yuji obviously at all. So, him coming prepared honestly because of Gojo was
Yep.
amazing. Him and Gojo had a conversation way back when. I don't remember if they clarified how long ago it actually was, but Yuta got fully understood what was going on when he got summoned back to JJK. He knew he was going to be the executioner. He knew he would have to kill Yuji. And how I took it was how he pulled it off is basically how Gojo survived Toji's attack in season 1 in the hidden
Mm.
inventory episodes of the positive and negative energies. Like we had seen Gojo get completely murked by Toji. He was clearly dead, but then he gets resurrected because of the positive energy. Again, JJK is one of the most complicated when it comes to
Yeah.
powers, abilities, and like world stuff. So I'm not fully understanding it, but I just know that this works because Gojo has expressed it in the past. I don't need like the exact science of how this fucking works. I just know that positive energy, only a select few people have that ability to like wield this positive energy. Yuta basically took a chance on Yuji having that ability to wield that or at least control it. And because he was, Yuji was able to revive. Like if Yuji didn't have that ability, I don't think he gets revived here, is how I took it almost.
I think it was more that Yuji's like endurance and physical prowess allowed Yuta to kill him and then heal him. Like his heart stopped, and like
Right.
most people
I
wouldn't be able
know
to come back
having
from that, but
yeah.
it's because of Yuji's kind of physical abilities that he's able to. It's Yuta is
Okay.
the one that's providing all of the positive energy.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
that's like, yeah, the reverse curse technique. I think, I mean, off top of my head, we know Gojo can do it. We obviously now know Yuta can do it. They show us a little bit later that Yuki can do it as well. But it's pretty rare. My only understanding is that curse energy is inherently negative. So when you multiply negative by negative, you get a positive, and then
Right.
that heals people. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's I took Yuta's explanation more that it's like Yuji's physical body plus the presence of Sukuna allowed
Mhm.
him to be able to die and then kind of come back to life, where most
And Yuta
people.
took a chance on that though. He didn't know
Yeah,
100% that that was going to work.
100%. Yep. Yeah. And I love
Yeah.
the line where kind of Yuta's explaining like why obviously, Gojo comes to him and says something and look out for him, and Yuji I think might ask him, like why or whatever, and he delivers a line: because the people I cherish you. And I just love that. I think that says so much about Yuta, and also it says a lot about Yuji and the relationships that he's been able to forge with everyone else, although he can't see that in this moment, because he's
Mhm.
still in this like hole of I'm a murderer, I'm irredeemable, everyone should get away from me. But then Yuta kind of giving this whole talk to about like the power and his experience with Rika, and he's kind of trying to mirror it slightly to Yuji's situation with Sukuna. And I just love the line of like, you're not to blame, and
Oh,
Yuji's not at a point where he
100%.
can believe that, but I just love that Yuta is speaking from his own experience too. And I think it's going to be so good for Yuji to have Yuta as an ally, both from a power perspective and also from an understanding of his situation perspective. But then we get the reunion here too, right after this, which is Megumi kind of arriving from the shadows. He just like walks out of the shadows, and then he kind of lays down the law a little bit about what's going on. He's kind of like, brother, like you can't wallow in this self-pity. There is the Culling Game is happening, and my sister Sumiki has been drawn into this situation. And he says, and I quote, I need your power. So he's kind of appealing to that side of Yuji that's like, you know, you got to keep helping people. I know you want to help people. I know that's kind of your ninja way, is that you want to be helpful to people. So move past this self-pity and let's focus on doing that side of things.
Yeah.
And damn.
I mean, like you said, Yuta coming in just right off the bat and telling Yuji that he is not to blame and that this is all not his fault was just so powerful. These two have never met before. They've only heard about each other, and
Mhm.
for Yuta to just fully understand the ramifications of what's been going on and to just right away tell Yuji, like, hey, this isn't your fault. Just Yuta is just a man at this point. He's just come such a far
Crazy.
way from the movie, and Yuji really is not listening to him. And I get it. This is someone you haven't met before. He's just kind of saying what you want to hear. But when it really hits him is when Megumi comes in, who is a voice that he has heard in the past before and has, you know, is his arguably his best friend. And when Megumi starts digging into him, I think that's when he kind of has this realization and he makes this pact with the two. If I let Sukuna out, just kill me. And they both agree to it, or at least Yuta does. I think it was more for Yuta rather than Megumi
Yeah.
because, as we know, Sukuna has plans for Megumi. We don't know what exactly they are. We just know that he has identified Megumi as someone he has interest in and wants to keep alive for like toying with purposes, almost like a
Yeah.
Hisoka, just wanting to build them up so he can crush them at their peak. But
Yeah,
Powerful
shout out
system.
that Maharaga fight in season 2.
Yes. Love, and that's like another thing that with JJK, when you go back and watch, it's like Megumi was out here trying to summon Maharaga for since episode 1 of season 1, and then we finally get it. It's just one of those things that you can pick up on rewatching because he hits the stance when Sukuna first appears, and it's like, what's this guy's gonna be doing? And then you don't see it
They're
for
good.
2 seasons almost. It's crazy. But the Culling Game, I
Yeah.
didn't know what to expect. Like, obviously the name of the season is Culling Game, but I guess I wasn't ready for it to like actually be a game for some reason. And
Yeah. It is
obviously
very
I
Hunter
had
x
to,
Hunter.
oh no, and I absolutely loved it. I 100% had to pause that screen to make sure I read all 9 or however many rules it was. This shit's gonna get intense, man. I
Yes.
am not fucking ready. So I think overall, to summarize, it's is if you're in Tokyo, you're a part of the Culling Game. If you are a sorcerer, you're basically worth 5 points. If you're not a sorcerer, you're worth 1 point. You can enter the game just by walking into the area, and that just automatically enters you in. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a sorcerer or not, you're just in the game. Someone who gets 100 points by killing, and you have to kill these people to
Yeah.
get these points. So 5
The
points for a
culling.
sorcerer, 1 point for a normal person. You get 100 points. You can create your own rule in the game, and basically the master, who is Kamo, just basically cannot deny that request. I think there might have been like some asterisks in there, but at the end of the day, that's kind of what I took away, is that there's a point system. You get rewarded points by killing people. You are uh, able to create rules in the game for killing people. That's
Yeah.
just the gist of what I got.
I mean, they will reinforce every single one of these rules
Yes.
multiple times as we move forward. So, yeah, I mean, the big takeaway being that like it's pretty much not optional.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to participate or else you are stripped of your curse technique, you know? And I guess and it'll talk about more like why it's happening and how it's related to what happened at the end of, season 2 where, Kamo wants to make everyone kind of into a sorcerer and then kind of see what happens from there and that type of stuff. So we'll get like they'll have so many conversations about like what is the point of certain things, who is the how does the game master position work and all of that. Like they get into literally all of it.
Yeah, my only one
So
question off the top is like, in terms of like theories, I guess, is like, what are the borders and how are they established? Like, is there just like a big hypothetical barrier around the city, and then it's like a domain expansion almost that just is around the entire city, and then once you're in that bubble, you're just fucked? Or is there
yeah,
like
there's
something
so
more
they
physical?
they call them colonies, I'm pretty sure, and they're actually, in my memory could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure they're all across Japan. So it's
I think there
actually
was
not
9 of them
just
or something like that. They
Tokyo.
mentioned something, yeah.
Yeah, and again, that's something that they'll reinforce and they'll talk a lot more about. But essentially, they're barriers. So barriers were huge. This is just a huge technique within the Jujutsu world. They talk about it a lot in season 1. Way more to it in
Tengen's the
season.
master of barriers, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, exactly. In season 2, so it's basically that they set up the barriers, and once you cross the barrier threshold, like you're in the game at that
gotcha. It's
point.
just, yeah, just like when Geto launched his attack on JJK, it was
Yeah,
kind of like that. Okay.
exactly. Yes. And then basically the rules are essentially being like you have to participate, and B, participating means killing, because if you don't kill, if your point total doesn't change within those night like a 19-day period,
Hmm.
then you're stripped of your curse technique, which is obviously no bueno. But yeah, so that's where we're at. And Megumi basically says, his sister, Sumiki, who has kind of been in that coma since, they talked about it, I believe it's probably season 1 or maybe early season 2 of like the whole that haunted bridge, and she's been in this
Yeah.
coma with this kind of she has almost like the Majin mark on her head
Yeah.
for like a while, but now she's awake and she's kind of been roped into this. So Megumi is pretty much like, brother, I need your help, to Yuji. And it's a pretty serious situation right here. And they have a plan of attack for what they want to do about this. So Yuji, like you mentioned, kind of agrees as long as Yuta is willing to kill him if Sukuna comes out, which is, when you put it like that, it's kind of funny. But basically the plan is they got to talk to Tengen, like you mentioned, because they need 2 answers. And their answers, I assume that you're also looking forward to as well, is how do they deal with the prison realm? So how the hell did they get Gojo out of the prison realm? And who the hell is Noritoshi Kamo? What is his actual plan behind all of this? So they want to find Tengen. The plan is actually Yuki. So we have blonde-haired Yuki, who was kind of Toto's senpai. She's just like super strong sorcerer in the JJK world. And so they're going to go meet up with her at Jujutsu High to find Tengen. The main issue of this being, how the heck do we find the correct door to get to Tengen? Because part of his barrier is that there's just like thousands of doors, like Monsters Inc., just kind of flowing around, and you don't know which is one. Then the boy Chozo emerges from the shadows. He was hiding behind Megumi when Megumi was in the shadows, and he emerges and is like, I got just the answer for that. So basically, they're going to rerun the season 1 attack when Mahito arrives and steals the cursed wounds and the stuff like that. They're just going to do the same thing. So they're just going to use Chojo's connection to his brothers to find the correct door. So that's kind of where we leave this conversation. But I will say there are two very important things that we have to cover before we head into the final bucket, which is kind of meeting Tengen. First one being Kugisaki.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We get confirmation. It seems like here, they don't actually say it, so it's like there's maybe some shreds of hope of what's happening with her. But we had earlier in episode 1, we have Yuji kind of reliving that memory and things like that, and he has this kind of response to Megumi not saying anything when he asks. He gets the whole, Arthur tightens the fist, and he's pretty pissed off about it. So we'll just kind of see what that is in the future as well.
That was one of my favorite episodes to watch reactors react to, was that slap to the face on Kugisaki. Obviously gut-wrenching, felt so sick watching it myself, but watching other people go through that pain is very enjoyable.
Crazy stuff. The second thing to touch on, and we touched about on this earlier with the whole Chozo, are they brothers? Dad with stitches like Geto and Noritoshi Kamo. And I was going to bring it up then, and I maybe should have. And people listening who read the manga at that, 30 minutes ago were probably like, why the fuck aren't they talking about this? But Yuji, before he actually wakes up and sees Yuta, he has this memory from being a child. And it's his grandfather is confronting his dad about his mom. And when we go and the vision onto his mom clarifies and clears up, she has scars on her head, healed scars, just like Geto. Geto has you can see the stitches, but his mom has healed scars on her head. So that's that.
She looked very similar to the second or third year student from the other school who always has his eyes closed, who's I think he's also like a Chozo blood relative.
He's Noritoshi Kamo. He has the same name as the
that's what I'm making sure. Those are all related, and she looked like him, and that would kind of, I guess, explain the connection for Yuji and his bloodline. Obviously, it doesn't give us much other than just faces. But first time seeing Yuji's dad, I was kind of shocked at how pink his hair was. I know Yuji's hair is kind of that tint, but I love the design of his dad. He looked amazing. The clarification, I guess, I want is, so the grandfather is saying, stay away from that woman.
Yeah.
But then proceeds to say, Corey, I'll just say, Cowrie is dead. So was he not referring to the wife in that sentence when he says, stay away from that woman?
Yeah, he was. Well, Yuji's mom, yes, that's who he's referring to. Basically, the grandfather doesn't approve, of the relationship, and is like,
she's no good, or she's just a problem.
Yes, I don't know how much to give you versus what the show might clarify later. So I'm sure there's people listening now too that are kind of like, why aren't they clarifying things? So I feel like the most important two takeaways are going to be, yes, that the grandfather is kind of saying he is very wary of Yuji's mom and is warning his dad against her, and that she has these healed scars on her skull.
But he does say she's dead, right? She's died.
Yes, he also mentions that.
But then obviously at the very end of that flashback, we see it's weird because the grandfather's saying she's dead, but then he gasps a little bit, and then it's the panel over to the mom who's right there in a ghostly kind of color, and is she says something, I forgot what the words are. So I don't know if I took that as she's actually alive or that was just like a memory within a memory. I don't really know, but I'm certainly super excited to see the backstory. Obviously, again, I'll just reiterate the mom. I'm personally making the connection that she is related to uh Kamo, and that's all I have. That's really it. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I mean, and true. I guess the one thing I'll add to this to the thought for you is that just going back to Choso's not like directive, but like question in a way too of to Yuji of like didn't your dad have
Dad have
scars on his head? Like you
scars.
have to remember, and Yuji kind of has this memory, but it ends up being his mom
Mom that has the
who
scars. Yeah.
has scars. So
Mhm. It's a
yes, those are
complex
all of the
anime, man.
pieces.
It really is. Like usually when we do these anime recordings for 2 episodes, we can knock them out in 30 minutes. But like this is a show that we have to go for an hour for because it's just like I need to make sure I'm understanding
Oh,
everything.
100%. But we're getting into the final discussion we have here. So we're kind of initiating the plan. Part one of that is just we have this reunion between Yuta, Megumi, Yuji, and Choso with Maki and Yuki. So Maki, we learn, actually ended up surviving Jogo's volcano outburst,
Yes,
both
my
due to,
girl.
yeah, Yuki using the reverse curse technique on her and her heavenly restriction. When I watched it, it said Heavenly Pact,
Yeah, it's at Heavenly
but
Pact.
okay. Then I didn't look it up if there's a difference between a heavenly restriction or a heavenly pact. But either way, basically, like the fact that she has like she can't see the curse spirit, she doesn't, that stuff like saved her because it gave her all these extra physical abilities that just helped her survive the attack. And this is where we can, I mean, just like a quick comedy scene of
Oh my
Chozo's
god,
like
I
stepping up
love
and explaining everything. He's like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. And they're like, okay, sweet. Who the fuck are you?
this scene got me, bro. This scene, I was literally this morning just watching, like eyes like half open, and I couldn't help but just chuckle because Yuji obviously introduced him like, you can just for now consider him my older brother, and he's just like Yuji. It's so good. I couldn't help but laugh at that. That was a good way to start my morning for sure.
There's a really good balance in this show of complexity, all of the curse techniques, people dying, villainy, all of that stuff, and the comedy. Like they weave in like another example being like we get the like when Yuta reveals he is on our side and we're getting this Gojo flashback and it's like, okay,
Yes,
they're having this conversation and like Gojo's like, you gotta protect them. And then it's just like, oh, would you get a girlfriend? And then they
trouble
add
with
like
women.
yeah, you know what I mean? They add in like these fun comedy beats at the correct times, which is just I feel like they're always successful. Okay, last thing we have to talk about here is going to be this meeting with Tengen. So we're kind of walking a little bit almost down memory lane. Chozo ends up finding the door. We walk through or towards the kind of tomb of the star plasma vessel. So we see that the blood stain from Riku or Rika,
Yeah,
Riku
Rika.
is still there. So that was season 2 back in the day when everything was still okay between Geto and Gojo. Toji caps her in the head with a fucking gun, which is a hilarious scene because it's
Another
like, where the
favorite moment of mine in season one,
it,
in season
well,
two.
yeah, it's like where's this guy get a fucking gun at? It's so funny in that way. But I like how Yuki has this kind of memory where she kind of says, I guess this is where all of this started back then. That's where this big plan started to move. It's just like a fun callback or just like an explicit mention of like how all of this stuff is so connected. This is this huge plan that has taken so many years and even decades and probably honestly even centuries to kind of get going, and we're just experiencing it accelerating and accelerating. And then Tengen pretty much arrives, and we don't get a ton, but we do get a little bit. He throws out some titles, and then they kind of just tease us with him, and that's it.
Okay, a few comments here. Going back to the Yuki and Maki, I just want to say that Maki will forever be my girl. I don't care if she's got scars. I don't care if she's got a haircut, eye patch. I fucking love Maki. I will never not love Maki. She is an all-time waifu for me. So great to see her alive. I was very happy. I did not want her dying. She definitely took a major blow as well from Jogo back in season 2, so that's good. Now for Tengen, I mean, not sure what I was expecting. I knew that Tengen was a face that we had not met. Obviously, it was the whole purpose of the hidden inventory episodes with the Star Plasma Vessel. my interpretation, I guess, from remembering season 2 was that Tengen was almost like a god and protector of JJK almost. Obviously, there's a religious group that follows Tengen, or I know they have another name. It's like the Star, I guess, is also their name, possibly, or something like that. So I definitely did not expect Tengen to look like this. I think they had 4 eyes. I hope we can see them fight, but it does not seem like they are a fighter type. Obviously, they're just more just defense, just like if we don't need to get involved, there's no reason to kind of thing. So interested to see there. They definitely seem to be all powerful, all knowing. One thing I clocked was that Yuki kind of utters to herself that she was rejected. At first, when they enter, they kind of say that we're all rejected, but then she's like, it's not everyone. It's just me that's being rejected. And then they turn around, and then that's when Tengen reveals himself. So not really sure what the rejection means. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Tengen maybe holds a grudge over Yuki because of the whole incident that happened 12 years ago. Like, that's my surface level guess of it all. I'm sure it's way more complicated than that. But yeah, Yuki was not chosen, I guess, in this moment, but Tengen does reveal himself. So definitely interested to see what Tengen can further provide, just other than information going into the future.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, episode 3 is going to, I think, answer a lot of your questions. I anticipate that they will just be speaking with Tengen, and we're just going to learn a whole lot about what's happening, even more than we've already learned in this episode 2.
I guess one thing that's now coming to my head as well is we know that the star plasma vessel, I said it was Rika, but that's totally not the name because that's
Yeah.
Yuta's demon. But whatever
Yeah,
her name was,
yes.
it definitely began with an R, I think. But either way, she died, and I don't know if we ever got the explanation or understanding of, I guess, how life continued on with the star plasma vessel getting killed, and like how did Tengen, I guess, quote unquote, survive, because we know Tengen needs that energy or whatever. So I guess this is just something I'm just now thinking of, is how
Yep.
is Tengen actually still here, or are they significantly weaker because they didn't get the absorption of the chick 12 years ago? Just kind of popped in my head now, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think you're asking all of the right questions. The final thing I have, and this will probably, I guess, be my final comment for the episode, is that we talked a little bit about that Gojo and Yuta cursed energy comparison. Now, this is actually something that I learned right before we started recording, because I was curious, because Tengen kind of, when he arrives, he greets them all with these titles. He doesn't recognize
Yes. Oh,
Yuki,
yes.
but he says Child of Zenin, which in my interpretation is both
Maki.
Megumi and Maki.
Maki, yes.
Because they're
100%.
both like that. We get the Cursed Womb death painting. Obviously, that is Chozo. We get the Vessel of Sukuna. Obviously, that is Yuji. And then he says the descendant of Michizane, which when I heard that, I'm like, okay, I don't know who, like, is that Yuta or is that Yuki rather? So I looked it up, and that is Yuta, because Michizane is both in the JJK world, and I also think in Japanese mythology, one of like the 3, I think it was like vengeful spirits, just like one of these big 3 like well-known spirits. And within JJK lore, like, again, super famous individual sorcerer, and both Gojo and Yuta are descendants of him.
Right. I know we found out that they are like distant cousins. I feel like they made a joke about that or something in the last season.
Yes.
So yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, so that is the connection there. And yeah, also, I guess, of note that Yuki didn't get a cool
Also
title.
goes into possibly the whole rejecting thing.
Yeah, so we will see. I think there's a lot of answers coming our way in this next episode, and I'm excited to talk about it. It might be another long, lots of notes, lots of questions, lots of sussing out what they mean by things, but I think it'll be a really good time.
I'm thinking this out, and I think in the past we've done bi-weekly recordings for episodes. This might be one that we should try and do weekly episodes for, just because of the amount of content that does get crammed into them sometimes. We're pretty bad about these schedules for the anime podcast, if I'm being honest, guys. So just bear with us. We will definitely be covering the season. That's 100% going to be happening because, as you can tell, we are obsessed with this. But I think our best bet will be to be doing these weekly. But we'll see if that changes. That could change. our schedules are pretty crazy this month with the podcast, but yeah, we are so back, baby. These were amazing 2 episodes. Animation's gone up in quality, which it's hard to believe that's even possible for JJK, but it did. So much introduction on new characters, so much plot that we're getting going forward. Culling Game's going to start soon. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, the concept of the Culling Game just kind of looming of like where it's happening,
There's so
and we're
much
just trying to
depth,
scramble
like,
beforehand is just such a great place to be, like a level of excitement of just, tournaments are just always such fun parts of
mhm.
animes and any way they can do them, but also this with all of these special additional rules and aspects of it, so just adding all this more strategy and stuff, and man, it's gonna be so good. So many new characters, all these new curse techniques, like it's just a great.
That actually reminded me. So to cover, if we want to talk about the intro as well, too, the new soundtrack. I tried my best to keep my eyes closed for like most of it and
Yeah.
just kind of like taking the sounds. First impression, it's no you are you are my special, but
Yeah.
we'll see. I was like in and out peeking at it, and a lot of new characters, a lot of characters I did not recognize in the intro. So can't wait to see them.
Yeah, we'll see. Also, so many art styles. It
Oh
was
yeah.
pretty
It was
wild. It
it was
was
really
all
beautiful
s
wise,
yeah,
like
so different,
mhm.
from scene to scene and all these things they were presenting, so I mean, that just bodes incredibly well for the
It's
rest
just
of the
gonna get to
season. All the
a
and,
point
like, these 2 episodes are great themselves, obviously, so
and it's gonna get to a point too where the intro and outro are probably gonna get to a point where I am gonna despise them because if I those moments of the end of season 2 where it's like Kugasaki's dead and Nanami gets killed, and then it's just like the Yuji walking outro
yeah.
with the slow, and it's like that shit fucking pissed me off every fucking time. And where it hit us with a "You are my special," and it's like fuck off. Like I'm trying to cry, and you're just throwing these bangers in my face.
Well, we'll see how many tears are ahead of us.
Yeah, I imagine a lot. I don't even want to think about who's on the chopping block. For now, I'm good. I'm living in the moment of everyone's alive and everything is good for the most part.
Yeah, I guess that's the benefit of the beginning of seasons where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, everyone's maybe temporarily safe. Although Yuji literally died in the first
Maki
episode,
got her
so
fake out, so I know Maki's not dying. I'm putting that on the board, and I will be fucking pissed if anything happens to her. So
okay.
So that is going to be it for our episodes 1 and 2 coverage of season 3 of JJK, The Culling Game. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe and check us out. We will be covering the entirety of this season. We also have a couple other podcast channels if you want to check out. The first one being Binge Empire, that covers a lot of the, a lot of the hottest and newest sci-fi and fantasy TV shows. Right now, that podcast is covering Fallout and Spartacus: House of Asher. Then we also have the Core podcast, which covers all of the newest and hottest Apple TV shows. Currently, that one, I believe, is going to be I'm on that one too. That'll be covering Hijack in the next week or so. So definitely subscribe to that. I've just binged the first half of Hijack season 1. I thought it was incredible. So keeping up with it, you guys definitely want to tune in for that. But otherwise, we also have a big growing Discord channel that you guys want to check out. We have a huge growing community there that we are talking about, anime, any of the TV shows that we're currently covering, anything that you guys are watching individually and want us to check out. We are very good about answering and getting back to you guys in the Discord. So please join us there. We love to chat with you guys about everything. But once again, we are the Final Form Podcast, and thank you so much for listening.